Welcome. This is 30 Minutes of Truth for Life with Pastor Poole, pastor of the Bethesda Baptist Church located in Muskegon, Michigan. Join Bethesda each week on this station as we meet the challenge of change through Truth for Life. And now, Pastor Poole.
To have that focus, I want to read the passage that is in Ephesians again, but I want to read it from the Message book because it is so much more contemporary in its language. And as I read it, I hope that you will receive what that word says to you as an individual and how important your relationship is with Christ. It is penned by Paul, who had a great experience on both sides of the fence, if I can put it in that language. He was both a sinner and a Christian. He was both a great lover of the church, and he had been a great force against Christ and the church. But when he writes this letter, this epistle to the Ephesians, he writes it in the context of understanding the journey that we must make. And no matter where we are in our lives and what we would expect from our lives, when we recognize our calling, we understand that we have been placed in a position in this world where we, no matter what takes place, will represent the God who has made us, called us, and sent us to do his work in this world. Listen to these words from the 6th chapter. I mentioned 6 weeks ago, I guess, or more than 6 weeks ago, that Ephesians and the readings for this time of Pentecost, that there were 6 of them that were going to appear in the weeks that were before us, and this is the last of them today. And that about wraps it up. God is strong, and he wants you strong. So take everything the Master has set out for you, well-made weapons of the best materials, and put them to use so you will be able to stand up to everything the devil throws your way. This is no afternoon athletic contest that we'll walk away from and forget about in a couple of hours. This is for keeps, a life or death fight to the finish against the devil and his angels. Be prepared. You're up against far more than you can handle on your own. Take all the help you can get, every weapon God has issued, so that when it's all over, but the shouting, you'll still be on your feet. Truth, righteousness, peace, faith, and salvation are more than words. Learn how to apply them. You'll need them throughout your life. God's word is an indispensable weapon. In the same way, prayer is essential in this ongoing warfare. Pray hard and long. Pray for your brothers and sisters. Keep your eyes open. Keep each other's spirits up so that no one falls behind or drops out. And don't forget to pray for me. Pray that I'll know what to say and have courage to say it at the right time, telling the mystery to one and all, the message that I, jailbird preacher that I am responsible for getting out. I want to share with you today this proclamation entitled, Prepared to Stand. Prepared to stand. Prepared to stand. Not one of us who is sensitive to the times in which we live could ever overlook the fact that the cultures of this day give evidence that the lives that we live are in large measure governed by principles other than those that are provided us by God. As we engage day by day, we recognize, even though we would not want to, that we're not very much in control of areas of our lives that are important. Doesn't matter how much you think you know, doesn't matter how much power you think you have, when it comes down to the bottom line, somebody else is directing your way. Someone else is telling you what your limits are in the world where you live. And you'd best follow them, because if you don't, you're in trouble with the world that you live in. I don't know anyone who has complete control of their living today. Look at our cultures, how they have changed. Look at the very places that we're directed to find life and see how empty they are. And look at how all that takes place day by day seems to be that which takes away from us our sense of security and leaves us with feelings of being insecure. So Paul says, put on the whole armor of God that you may stand. Now, I just want to talk about that. You know, in this day, we need to be careful that we don't present ourselves as piecemeal Christians. Let me explain to you what a piecemeal Christian is. A piecemeal Christian is one who sometimes believes. A piecemeal Christian is one who is busy seeking substitutes for uncomfortable times. A piecemeal Christian is someone trying to borrow from the contemporary, thinking that it can do what the traditional, which the lasting can do for you. That's what a piecemeal Christian is. A piecemeal Christian believes that God will take care of you as long as you've got money in your pocket. A piecemeal Christian thinks that you'll get along all right as long as you have certain friends. A piecemeal Christian feels that as long as they know the words to say in the world where they live, they should say those words so that they can get along in the world as the world goes. That's what piecemeal Christians do. And then come 10:30, 10:45, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock service, they scatter in for a few minutes. They read a couple of scriptures, sing a song or two, offer a prayer, and then they turn around and go right back to doing what they were doing all the time. Paul's first measure of the armor of God is putting on the truth. Put on the truth. Be what God has called you to be. Don't try to fudge it. Fudging it means painting over something that's not it. Because when you fudge over it, when you get in the storm, the waters will wash off the paint. And you'll be known for who you are. When you go into the battle and you need the power to overcome, and you meet the foe, the devil, you will find out you don't have the strength to stand up against him in that hour. And so he says, church, check yourself and see that you take truth as a foundation for your living, as a foundation for your moving about. And then have the breastplate of righteousness. As you follow the truth, be seen doing those things that are right. And even when right does not seem to win, be sure you have the breastplate or the shield of faith. For part-time Christians, they hold on to the church as long as things are going well. But when things aren't going well, then they have a different attitude about the church. But you cannot be a Christian without the shield of faith without faith that blocks off all of those darts of evil that come to destroy you, all of those darts of selfishness that are a part of the world that we live in. You have to believe that in spite of all of these things that are going wrong in our world, that God is still in control. The world didn't fall apart when those 9 people were killed down there in the church. The world didn't fall apart when they had those riots in Missouri and elsewhere, and people were all crazy because somebody got shot. The world didn't fall apart. The world didn't fall apart because over across the waters there are folk who are seeking to destroy people day by day, by bomb and otherwise. Someone said, well, if there's a God, then he ought to cut off all of these things. You remember last Sunday I said you need to know and understand the will of God. Well, the will of God is that all men might be saved. And we don't necessarily understand how his plan is working to bring that about. But we do know that he is God. And we do understand that he does not fail. We do know that he's going to follow the plan that he has made even from the beginning of the world. So we don't need to lose our direction seeking somebody else who we think may have a better plan. God has demonstrated his plan, and he's saying you need to have faith. Faith to believe that I'll accomplish it. Why? Because I am God and there is no other God but me. I am God. There is no power like my power. And what I have declared, even though you can't see it today, it will be. And I can't get mad with God because all of a sudden I don't have any job. I can't get mad with God because I discover I have cancer. I can't get mad with God because I've lost a limb. I can't get mad with God because Paul reminds me, so that I won't forget, all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And if you believe you are a child of God and he has called you according to his purpose, no matter how dark it is, there's a bright light somewhere. No matter how lost you seem, God is going to show you the way. He's going to lead you to the place where he desires you to be. So have faith in it. Allow me. Somebody else out there is like that. Yesterday, last evening, we went and had dinner with the Bruces in their celebration of 50 years of marriage. The older I get, the more I recognize that I am blessed beyond measure because I can now look back. You follow what I'm saying? When I was 20, I was nervous. Now that I'm moving toward 90, I'm not nervous anymore. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. When I was 25 or 30, I was jiggling, trying to find and catch hold of everything that came by. But now that I am where I am, I'm settled down now. And I'm at a point where I'm just waiting on the Lord now. To do and say what he promised he would do. And I'm able to do that because I have a shield of faith. If the storm comes tonight, it won't destroy me. There's a song my grandmother used to sing in the midst of trouble. Just a one-line thing. I'll live on. I'll live on. Thank God Almighty. I'm going to live on if the storm comes. I listened to a comment by former President Carter, who discovered his cancer is back and worse. And at first he was concerned, but when they told him what had happened, he said, well, the journey isn't as bad as I thought. The journey isn't bad as I thought. When you have faith in God, when you look out of the clouds, you recognize the journey isn't bad as you think it is. For you see, in that journey, the Lord has promised something. And it is the good news of life eternal. That's God's promise. If you believe in me, ye shall have life everlasting. So when you think about these 105 years of celebration of a church, think about the years that we celebrate as individuals with life with Christ. And recognize that God has provided something for us. And this is how Paul fixes this. While I have life, I'm ready to spread the good news. We should not be talking about the fall off of the church. We should be talking about the opportunity that we have to spread our faith. I want to say that again. We shouldn't be reading statistics about how the church has fallen off in attendance and membership, and people are making up their own things about where they want to place their hope. We shouldn't be doing that. We should know that God has fixed it, that is settled, and that nobody can take away what is settled. And we ought to be so happy to spread the good news of what the Lord has guaranteed for us. God has guaranteed life to all who believe. And so now on this 105th celebration of Bethesda Baptist Church, you and I who have expressed a belief in God, we can say we're wearing the helmet of salvation. You know what that helmet of salvation signifies? I'm free. Anybody here free? Paul says, put on the helmet of salvation. I'm free. I'm in jail preaching. I'm in jail telling the story. You think you got me in prison? I want you to know I'm free. Nobody can take my joy. Nobody can take my life. Nobody can take what I have. It's in God's hand. I'm in God's hand. how do I fight back? I fight back with the sword of the word. And you hear me saying sometimes when the storm is raging, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down by the green pastures. He restores my soul. As we do battle against the darkness of this world, we fight in the strength of our faith in God and our constant belief in the fact that we have life in Christ no matter what happens. Now, how do I know I got life? God had one purpose. When I was separated from him by sin, he determined that we'd have a relationship. The sacrifice had to be made. Some blood had to be shed in order for us to stand before him. And so he gave up his son to die for you, for me, for all who would believe. And because his son died for me, he paid the price of my sin. And when he paid the price of my sins and got finished with paying the price, he got up out of the grave where they thought they had finished him off and declared, all power in heaven and earth is in my hand. And in that power is my life. And so today, 105, who cares? I'm going to live forever. You know, there was an old song they used to sing just a few lines, then there are a whole lot of lines. I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier in the army. I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. Somebody today ought to recognize that if you believe you're fixed and you become a soldier in the army of the Lord, and if you are a soldier in the army of the Lord, nobody can defeat you. God has given you all of the armor that you need. And Paul is saying to us, here's the church today. Many of us need to change our mind and put on the armor. We need to stop fussing and talking about what we don't have and realize what we do have.